Good evening, guys. Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you can hear me okay. And we'll get started here momentarily. I'm going to wait a minute or two for people to pop in here and give me the thumbs up. I see we are live here. Audio's good. So let me know in chat where you're watching from. Go ahead and get started here just a second. What's up, Rich? Good to see you in here. Audio's great. Thank you, Dawn. All right, if you guys are just tuning in here, we are going to go over the latest data and information for our severe weather risk overnight tonight and especially into tomorrow. Talk hazards, timeframes, all that good jazz in this video. So if you got questions, feel free to pop those in the chat. But in the meantime, let me know where you guys are watching from. And we'll go ahead and dive in here in just a moment. What's up, Naomi, Aaron, Hadley? Good to see you guys in here tonight. So we are going to talk about the severe weather threats overnight tonight into Tuesday. Aaron says Crawfordsville. We're not going to spend too much longer here. We have people to file in. Got 62 of you in here. Let's go ahead and get started. So for tonight and for today, really, rest of today and into the night hours, we're not talking about any rain or any storms in the state of Indiana. That risk really starts to increase closer to, we're going to say 5 or so a.m. on your Tuesday morning, right around sunrise, really, just before sunrise. And that is going to be depicted here on the models I'll show you guys in just a second. But if you see a lot of talk about forecast in the severe forecast for today or Monday night, it's really talking about Tuesday morning because the SPC outlook stops directly at 8 a.m. Tuesday morning. So the technically Monday outlook is technically Tuesday. It's a little confusing. I get it. So if you guys see this map on your screen, other places, it's really not for today. It's for tomorrow morning. This is more accurate for the Tuesday morning time frame. The entire state in a severe weather risk here per the SPC. In yellow, that's your highest risk. It's called a slight risk, level 2 on a scale of 5 here. Up further north toward the Gary region, we're in a level 1 risk. That's in dark green. South Bend, Gary area is included within that low end risk. Notice our friends out in the central and eastern part of Ohio, they have a level 3 enhanced risk for severe weather from about the Columbus area, from about Dayton through Cleveland, Youngstown, that general area getting a good dollop of severe weather. So breaking this down here, the hazards for tomorrow, number 1, damaging wind. That is your main and primary concerns here across the state. It is going to be the higher concern in yellow and a little lower concern, but still a concern in that brownish red color further north and west. Second threat is hail. It is a low-end risk across much of the state. The only place in Indiana not within a hail risk currently is that northwest corner up by Gary. Now, in terms of anything tornadic-wise, here is your tornadic risk for tomorrow. We're going to see Indiana is free and clear, but that 2% low-end risk for a tornado is close to that state line over by Muncie, Richmond areas in Ohio. So currently, the expectation is a very, very low risk for a tornado or two in the state. I'm not going to rule it out completely, but the SPC outlook here also agrees with our thinking that's a very low-end risk, if not even a close to zero risk for tomorrow. So moving further into this, talking about time frames, expectations, with damaging wind being the primary concern, why is that? So going into the forecast, future forecast radar here for the overnight period, here is, backing this up, here's 8 o'clock right now out there. Radar is clear. No concern at all. Beautiful evening. Get out and enjoy it. There's supposed to be a good sunset tonight as well. Get out there and enjoy the evening, guys. Nice warm day out there. Overnight, though, here's 10 p.m., 11 p.m., midnight. We're going to stay dry. After midnight, here's 1, 2, 3 a.m. Eastern. Notice how storms begin to push our way toward the Illinois area. Not quite to the state, but here's 4 a.m. And by about 5 a.m. or so, we're starting to get our first chance of a shower or storm up there by the Gary area. Notice how it's also kind of congealed into more of a line. That's going to be what's going to cause our wind risk. Moving into the early morning hours, the good news with this coming early in the morning is that we're going to have less storm fuel. Storm fuel is built in during the afternoon and evening hours, sun's out, heat in the atmosphere, making it all nice, warm, and muggy. We're not going to have that here because it's a later timing. So we're going to have a lower end storm fuel to support severe weather, but still there's going to be enough there just to support the damaging wind and hail risk as these storms push in early Tuesday morning. So 5 a.m. to 6 a.m., expect the chance for storms to really start ramping up across the west part of Indiana. Now, go ahead and go further into the future here. Here's 7 a.m. 8 a.m., it's a nice line of storms that has developed here from Angola down to about that Vincennes Terre Haute area. And that's pushing east-northeast here through the early to mid-morning hours. Here's 9 a.m. Eastern. There's 9 a.m. Here's 10 a.m. Here's 11 a.m. And then there's noon. That line will weaken as it pushes across the state. It may actually be a little bit gusty, may have some small hail in it. Severe risk with that line is there, but I do not think it's a very high concern at this point in time. Now, going into the afternoon hours, because that line comes through, we're going to have a lot of rain, a lot of clouds in the area. It may not allow for storm fuel to build up properly for the afternoon and evening. So going forward into the future here, areas that were very little impacted by that first round are further south of Indianapolis there. So that's why we're going to see storms develop once again here in the afternoon hours in southern and central Indiana, close to that 4 or 5 p.m. Eastern Tuesday time frame. So overall, this risk, it may be kind of working out for Indiana where we may not have a very high risk at all, but still a risk that we got to take seriously nonetheless. These storms on this model do reinitiate here for that southern part of the state, but they're more isolated, scattered in nature. They're not widespread. So potentially 2 rounds here. The first round, early morning, 5 a.m. here, back to the model. Here's 5 a.m., 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, then noon. A little bit of a break there, and then more storms further south here for the afternoon on Tuesday to worry about. So perhaps lining up for a good scenario here, missing out on most of the severe weather for the state. Going to the other model here, a little bit different depiction based on this model. We have numerous models we look at. We try to look at all of them to get a good idea of what we're going to kind of be looking at for the future. So take it with a grain of salt here. This model says, here's 5 a.m. right here. This model is more dry, although this model has also been kind of trending more inaccurate over the past couple of days. So we put less trust in it, which is why we showed you guys the first model we did first. This model solution says no storms really around that sunrise time frame, but hey, we do have some storms pushing into that southern and central part of the state closer to 8 or 9 a.m. So right around that morning time frame, waking up, going to work, either way, either model, right around that time frame is the area in the time frame to watch for severe weather, first crack of storms there in the state. Now, going into the afternoon hours, this kind of develops and pushes across the state here. Here's noon, here's 1 o'clock, here's 2 p.m. Northern half of the state, this model says we have storms. And then we go to the 4, 5, 6 time frame, and we have isolated to scattered development across central and southern Indiana, as well as portions of central Ohio there. So 2 solutions here do suggest that second round develops in the afternoon Tuesday will be south or close to or south of Indianapolis here on the south side of the state primarily. All right. The big concern, big question is what's happening out there right now. What's going to happen close to that 5 to 6 a.m. time frame. If we get no storms at all in that early morning period, that allows for more storm fuel to build. It allows for a higher end secondary risk Tuesday afternoon. But if we have those morning storms, that means that, hey, we have 2 rounds here. We may have some clouds in the area. Not going to have enough storm fuel to support a widespread severe risk for that Tuesday afternoon second round. Make sense? That's kind of what we're looking at here. Other than that, we're also watching storms off to our west. Currently here on live radar, we have a developing line of storms across Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa areas. This is expected to push east and north into Wisconsin and Michigan here overnight tonight. Down here in Indiana, we are free and clear. There is not a raindrop in the state. So please, if you like the outdoors, tonight is a great night to get out there and enjoy the beautiful weather while we have it. Overall, a quiet night, get close to sunrise. That is when storm chances begin to increase. Any questions, guys? Feel free to drop them in chat. Currently, the entire state is at risk. No matter if you're in Gary, South Bend, Fort Wayne, down to Corydon or Evansville, you guys all have a severe weather risk starting around that Tuesday 5 a.m. time frame. They'll continue into the afternoon hours. Personally, here at IWO, we do feel the risk for round 1 is higher for the northern and central part of the state as that line pushes through. Round 1 here, again, 5 a.m. to about 10 a.m. for that time frame. And then round 2, further south here, mainly along and south of I-70 here. Indianapolis points southward for round 2. That happens later on, 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, continuing into the evening hours. All right, that is what we're kind of hinging on right now. But either way, doesn't matter where you're at in the state. I see a lot of questions for exact areas. We cannot answer those. The entire state is at risk because there's still model uncertainty there. We don't have an exact pinpoint. We can't really say, hey, this place is going to get hit for sure. We can't say that. But unfortunately, we can tell you that the entire state is at risk. The environment is forecasted to be probable or be supportive of severe weather. It's just a matter of what model is going to be right, which model is going to be wrong at this point, and actually what happens. Any questions here in chat? Derek says some models say CAPE will build for the entire state. And again, that's going to be really dependent and really dependent on that first round in the morning hours. If we get a big line pushing through the state at 6, 7 a.m., that's not going to bode well for our instability to build back in behind it. That's going to put a damper on things. But if we don't get that first round or we have minimal storms for round 1, that may give us a higher severe risk because we have higher CAPE values for the afternoon. So we have to keep an eye on that. We'll watch it. Overall, 2 rounds are possible. I think the higher severe risk is with round 2, but we're not going to discount round 1 just yet because those storms do have some upper level instability. They could produce some gusty winds and some large hail. Any questions, guys? Average amount of precipitation, Pat. That is a great question, and the answer I'm going to try and answer this, but I'm also going to say with models being so sporadic with their forecasts, we can't really pinpoint exact areas which are going to get higher amounts. I will also say storms tomorrow will be moving pretty quickly, so any flooding will likely become a non-issue. I don't think we're going to be looking at a big flooding risk tomorrow across the state. In terms of the overall precipitation, I can give you a couple models here, but they're going to be kind of sporadic in nature on what they're going to show. There's one model here. It has a good swath there across north central Indiana of maybe an inch or two, mostly a half inch or so. But if we go to this model over here, we look at the exact same thing. We're going to see through that Tuesday morning time frame, there's just not much happening there. So it's very sporadic in nature. Yes, there is a reminder. Weather radios are not going to be working today, tomorrow, and Wednesday across central Indiana. So again, I'm going to reiterate that. If you have a weather radio, rely on it for warnings. It will not go off tomorrow for any severe alerts. So please have alternate ways to receive warnings. Yes, 5 to 6 a.m. I'll go back to that model here just to kind of give you guys the idea. 6 right about here. So this model is 5 a.m. Notice the line is in north central Indiana here. So for the most part, we're going to say it's close to Bloomington, a little bit north Bloomington, Indianapolis area, points northward here. So really north central Indiana with round 1. That's going to be the concern from 5 a.m. to about the 10 a.m. time frame. And then anything that happens after that will likely happen south of I-70 or close to it at least. Could be a little bit north of there. Don't come back and say, you said south of I-70. No, it could be around there. It could be a little bit north of there. But that'll be the round 1 up here, round 2 down here. That's what we're kind of keeping an eye on right now. And that round 2 is going to be roughly about 2 to 3 p.m. through about that 8 p.m. time frame. Are the wind gusts strong enough to tie down trampoline tomorrow? Kate, that is a yes. Either way, storms or not, it's going to be really gusty in the state. Flipping over here to the wind map, we're going to look at the HRRR for this. Flip it over here to the wind map. There we go. There's your wind gust across the state at their peak. So Tuesday morning, we wake up tomorrow, widespread 30 to 40 plus miles per hour on the wind speeds here, just outside of storms in general. Any storms will likely enhance those winds, probably close to severe limits. Either way, good day to tie down your trampolines, tie down loose objects like trash, excuse me, trash cans, kid toys, stuff like that. Good day to tie those down, secure those so they don't go flying and gone with the wind. Is Wednesday a severe risk as well? The answer to that is yes. There is a severe risk. We are not focusing in on it just yet, but yes, there is a severe risk here for central and southern Indiana for Wednesday. We'll talk about that after tomorrow. It's hard because all these days are sandwiched together, so it's really hard to communicate all these, but yes, there is a risk on Wednesday as well. We'll talk about it once we have a free moment and not focusing in on one threat at a time. We want to focus in on the threat immediately affecting the state, and then focusing in on the one later on as we get some free time and some quiet periods. Had hail damage from 3 weeks ago. What chances of another hailstorm? The good news with hail tomorrow is overall risk is looking on the lower end of things, not a complete zero risk, but on the lower end of things, I'm going to say a quarter size is possible in the strongest cells. But with these storms, the first round especially, being more of a line segment, that should be more of a wind threat and maybe some isolated large hail. I think the hail threat is going to be further south with the second round especially, although it's not a very high threat at this point. Any questions, guys? Feel free to drop them in chat. If there are no more questions, I will pop out of here shortly. Appreciate you guys hopping on, asking questions, interacting. We are all about that, keeping you guys informed and aware. So if you guys do have questions, I would be glad to answer those. Any chance for a break from this in the future? Kyle, yes. The weekend is looking very nice across the state. I do think there's a risk for storms on Thursday as well. Keep an eye on that day too. So potentially 3 days back to back to back in the state with at least rain, probably some storms, maybe severe weather. We'll have to play it by ear and go from there. But yes, the weekend, Kyle, would be the time to look forward to. As a reminder as well, we will be live streaming any and all severe warnings in the state of Indiana as they come in, starting as early as tomorrow morning and going through the day. Caleb and I got you covered here. So if you guys want severe weather coverage, if you guys know who Ryan Hall is, Max Velocity, we do the exact same thing here at IWO with radar. And we also have chasers out there sometimes. We don't have a big team built just yet. We're working on that. But as of right now, we have just coverage with 1 or 2 chasers being out in the field. So feel free to tune in. It's local coverage specific to Indiana. Georgia, I will turn that on for you guys. I know what you're trying to do there with that notify setting. I will gladly turn that on. I don't have that currently on right now. Give me 1 second and I'll have you do it again. Try now. Try now, Georgia. If you're on Facebook watching and you want to be notified when we go live, type in the exclamation point followed by the word notify. And that will be that should notify you anytime that we go live here on Facebook. What's the risk for Muncie? The risk for tomorrow is a slight risk, level 2 out of 5. That equates to a probability between 15 and 29%. Risk of seeing severe weather, damaging winds is a primary concern there. So you have a 15 to about a 30% risk of seeing a damaging wind gust within a 25-mile point of Muncie. Stormlord with a question here. Give me a brief rundown of how things are looking for tomorrow. It's going to come down to how these rounds play out. Round 1 possible. I'm going to lead this up to say right now there's no threat for showers or storms tonight. They start about 5 o'clock tomorrow morning, so very early, 5 a.m. Tuesday, the risk begins to pick up there. This is round 1. We're going to deem it round 1. We could have storms across the central and northern part of the state. Those could be severe with large hail and damaging winds as threats. And then overall, that's going to, it should weaken as it pushes east out of the state here. And by about noon, we're looking at some drier conditions. But then round 2 comes in later on, right around the 4 or 5 o'clock time frame, maybe as early as 2, for southern Indiana here. So really round 1 up here for the north central part of the state, early 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. And then round 2 further south, we're going to say 2 p.m. to about 8 to 9 p.m. How these rounds play out will be dependent on how the current conditions are out there and how these storms evolve right now. On radar currently, we do have showers and storms across Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa. That line is going to develop and push northeastward into Michigan and Wisconsin. It also should develop south of that as the night goes on. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, how that all evolves, because how that evolves will dictate what we get here later on. If that makes sense. Should I cancel going to my retreat in Bedford, Indiana on Thursday? Brianne, thank you for the question. I think it's too early to really pinpoint Thursday. We have 2 days to get through first, and there's a lot of uncertainty here. I would say give it until tomorrow if you can, before making a decision. I don't think the threat for either Wednesday or Thursday is very high right now. So as of right now, I'd say no. I don't think it's worth it. But I would say keep an eye on the forecast because these models have been kind of all over the place lately. They've been ramping up quickly, ramping down quickly. We could see some changes between now and then. So as of right now, I'd say no, you should be good to go. But put in the back of your mind to keep checking local forecasts every morning to see if there's any updates for you. Yeah, Stormlord, I do as well. With those weather radios being down, it'd be great if you can escape both rounds with minimal severe, if any severe at all. That's the hope, at least. But unfortunately, we have to forecast what the parameters are telling us, and the parameters are saying that, hey, if a storm is going to interact with this environment, we're going to see severe weather because there's good wind shear, there's good storm field, there's good moisture, there's good lift, all that jazz. We have, decent parameters for severe weather. So if a storm can get up and going, unfortunately, there's a risk. To answer your question, Kyle, I just fast forward this model here to Wednesday evening, and this looks like at 6 o'clock or so. It says storms going to move into the state here, looking pretty potent in nature as well. So there's your Wednesday risk. We'll keep an eye on that. Central and southern Indiana, and then also into the Thursday time frame, perhaps another round here of scattered to let's call it scattered storms for Wednesday or Thursday as well. All these days are running together at this point. But yeah, 3 days here, potential severe weather. Wednesday's a threat there, and also on Thursday. And Wednesday currently looks like an evening threat for you, for the Kyle, for your question. How's tomorrow looking at 7 a.m.? Mike, great question. Where are you at? What part of the state are you in? You near Fort Wayne? You near Indianapolis? Because the answer is different depending on where you're at in the state. Either way, I'm going to say chance of rain. Models, one model says it's going to rain, it's going to storm. Other model says it's dry. Right now, we're going with this model here. I do think there's going to be a line pushing into the state of Indiana about that 5, 6, 7 a.m. time frame, especially if you're north of I-70, north of Indianapolis. I think you have the highest risk for that. but that also could change. Again, models have been kind of wishy-washy with their exact preciseness. They're usually pretty precise, but for some reason lately they've not been as precise as what we're used to. So I say chance of rain, but let me know where you're at in the state. Yeah, Kyle, I was showing you guys 6 p.m. there of Wednesday evening. Sorry, Wednesday evening, 6 p.m. And that was right here. This is 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 10. That's Wednesday evening. So severe risk south of Indianapolis there, looks like, primarily. Back to tomorrow morning's risk. Noblesville, I would say you're kind of dead center to both risks. So ideally, you may miss out on it. You know, first round goes north of you, second round goes south of you. That's best case scenario for you. Otherwise, unfortunately, I have to say both risks. I would say be on alert. That morning round closer to that 7 a.m. time frame, that's your first chance. And I'd say keep an eye on how things are trending in the state for the afternoon evening time frame, because it's going to come down to where that front is. There's a cold front coming through the area. So if that's delayed or slowed down, they'll give you more time to build storm fuel. Storms will fire probably close to you. But if it comes through quicker, that means that cold front drops through quicker and it cuts off your instability and pushes it to your south, giving you basically no risk at all. So it'll come down to how that plays out with the cold front timing. We're going to wrap it up here soon. Go over everything one more time here. Starting about 5 o'clock in the morning Tuesday, we're going to have a risk for severe weather for the entire state of Indiana. Doesn't matter if you're in Gary, South Bend, Fort Wayne, Muncie, Bloomington, Terre Haute. Doesn't matter where you're at. There's a risk tomorrow for severe weather. 2 rounds are possible. Round 1, 5 a.m. or so, is when we expect our first round to push into the west part of the state. Right around that west central, northwest part of the state here. Here is 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m., and then there is midnight. That's noon tomorrow. And then a break. Round 2 develops south of the round 1 area, further south there. Storms fire up for round 2, close to Bloomington and point southward there, around the 4 o'clock time frame in the afternoon Tuesday. So because we have 2 rounds here, because there's uncertainty with both rounds where they're going to set up, how long they're going to last, they're going to be severe, we're not going to be able to depict exactly who's going to get severe weather, who's not going to get severe weather. We can tell you that the environment across the entire state is favorable for damaging winds up to 60 miles per hour, as well as large hail up to about 1 inch in diameter. I wouldn't think there's a very high risk for anything tornadic, but we're not going to rule that out just yet. The SPC doesn't have a risk for anything tornadic in the state, but we think there's could be a very low risk with any storm that develops, especially with round 2 further south. Damaging wind, primary concern there in yellow areas, that it's a 15 to 29% probability of seeing a severe wind gust within a 25-mile point of anywhere in yellow. So, for example, if you live in Lafayette, you have a 15 to 29% chance of seeing a severe gust within a 25-mile point from you. Hail risk is lower. It's only a 5 to 14% risk, so it's a lower risk. But again, the entire state minus that northwest corner by Gary in that hail risk. All right, that is your overview. Again, round 1, 5 a.m. to about 10 a.m., north central Indiana. Round 2, central and south Indiana, mid-afternoon time frame. Damaging wind, large hail, primary concerns, a very low risk for anything tornadic. All right, I hope that answers you guys' questions. We are going to pop out of here. I will catch you guys with Caleb likely on the warning desk tomorrow morning, so you can catch me and Caleb for severe coverage. If anything does go severe, we'll track it live here for you guys and tell you exactly where it's headed, what's happening, and how you guys should react to it. All right, with that said, enjoy the outro music. I'm going to hop out of here. Enjoy your evening. I'll catch you guys more than likely in the morning hours tomorrow.